Hello everyone, this is Kaushik Kumar from SRIRAM Law Academy, and in this video I'm going to be talking about some of the common reasons why most of the students fail in CLAT. Now, this video is going to be talking about some of the most general reasons and the most common mistakes that a lot of students do, and this is to focus on the things that you should be trying to avoid and trying to change your approach in that particular manner right now so that you're in the best position to crack CLAT over the course of the next few months that you're going to be working on it. So the first big reason why a lot of students don't make it in CLAT is because they tend to give up very soon, right? Because they start working on the fundamentals, they start working on developing their basics and a lot of skills for which is necessary for CLAT, but they don't see results immediately. They just don't see that they're doing well in marks, they don't see that they're doing well in practice papers, and then they just realize they think that their efforts are going to waste, they think they're wasting their time, and they just stop and they give up right there. Either they just stop working for it properly after that, or they just give up the idea of giving CLAT in the first place. And that is a very, very wrong approach to take because, like you know, these skills are going to be developed over a period of time, like that of your reading skills, that of your logical skills, your critical thinking skills, your analytical skills. All of this requires you to put in quite a bit of time over a period of, say, a few months for you to be able to get to a place where you're at the level that CLAT is expecting you to be. Now, the most important bit is while you are doing this preparation, results are not always going to go your way. You're not going to be doing well in every single mock exam. You're not going to be doing well in every single practice paper you're doing. Even when you're just solving questions, there are going to be times when you are going to struggle to solve questions. But that by itself is no benchmark for you to either stop working or give up or just lose motivation right there. And that is one of the biggest issues which is faced by a lot of students, that they just give up too soon and they don't realize that if they continue to focus on the process, the results will automatically follow, because results are not going to come overnight. It's not going to come immediately. It's going to take a few weeks. It's going to take a few months. But if you're able to persist and persevere throughout that difficult phase, is when you'll get to a point where you'll realize that, oh yes, all of that work that I put in to develop my basics, to improve my fundamentals are coming in handy right now because of the fact that I was able to put in that much effort, even though I was not doing so well at the point. And that is one of the most common reasons as to why a lot of students fail to do well in CLAT, right? And another thing is that a lot of students lack persistence because, see, you have to realize CLAT it's about a marathon. It's not like a sprint. So it's about how much work you can put in every single day over the course of the next few months so that you're able to be in a position to crack CLAT, rather than you cramming in 10 to 12 hours of work every day for the next 15 days and thinking that you're going to crack CLAT, because that is not how things are going to work. Because CLAT, like I told you, being a skill-based exam, these skills take some time to develop. These skills take some time for you to get familiar with the kind of subjects, for you to get familiar with the kind of material that you're facing, and so that you're in a position to adapt yourself to any kind of new material that's being presented to you. And for that, you need to persist in your efforts every single day over a period of time, and that persistence is what is lacking in quite a few students, because if you ask them to work for 10 hours a day for 2 days, they'll do that very easily. But you ask them to work for 2 hours a day across 10 days, that's something which is going to be difficult for a lot of students. And that is where you can see the difference between the ones who make it and the ones who don't. And that lack of persistence is one of the biggest problems that a lot of students face. So remember, guys, CLAT, again, it's not a marathon. I mean, it's not a sprint. It's a marathon. So it's about how you're able to chip away slowly every single day at the required amount of time that you need to put in. If you're able to put that amount of time every single day, about 2 to 3 hours every single day, you're just going to be in a really good position at the end of it. You just won't realize it. You won't see how much progress you're making every day. But if you actually look back, say a month later or 2 months later, you realize how far you actually come from the time you actually started working. Now, the next reason why a lot of students lose their focus, or they kind of lose their way in the whole thing, is because of the fact that they kind of hoard materials, right? Because they start collecting material from so many different sources that they just lose track of actually how much material they have. Now, with regard to just material regarding the theoretical aspects of it and regarding any principle-based studies that you have to do with regard to CLAT, less is actually more, guys. Because all you need to do is make sure that you have complete material from one particular source, which covers all the different aspects of the theories and the principles that you need to understand for the purpose of CLAT. And the focus and the bulk of your focus in collecting material should be more focused towards getting different kinds of mock papers, different kinds of sample questions, and getting different kinds of question patterns and question sets. Because that is where the focus of collecting material should come in, because your practice is what is going to determine how well you're going to do at the end of the day. These theories and these principles, there is absolutely no point in you trying to collect material from so many different sources that you're just repeating the efforts that you're doing, that you've already studied, that you've already worked on by looking at all of these different sources. It just acts as a source of confusion for you. You're just really losing a lot of time in covering all of these scattered resources while you're trying to understand basic theoretical concepts and basic principles that you need to understand for CLAT itself. Right? So this kind of theoretical study is very limited for CLAT preparation, and your main focus should be on practicing, solving mock papers, solving practice questions, and looking at it and analyzing how well you've done or how well you've not done. I mean, how badly you've done. So that is something which you need to look at, and that is where less is actually more with regard to material. Just for the theoretical aspects, focus on getting more and more different kinds of questions or question types from various sources. That is completely fine, but don't try to hold so many resources that you just lose so much time in handling them, organizing them, and at the end of the day, studying them as well. Right? Now, having said that, one thing which is related to the whole scattered resources point that I was talking about is that of a very unorganized work schedule and preparation. Now, because of the fact that you're going to be spending so much time in preparing for CLAT, it is really essential for you to be able to have a very organized schedule, proper routine, and a really good plan of action for how your CLAT prep is going to go. Because otherwise, so many days can go by, it can just pass you by like this, where you feel that you, say, work 2 hours a day, but you just didn't have any particular direction in which you work. You just sat in front of your book, you solved a couple of questions, maybe you looked at some theoretical principles, you looked at some sample questions, but you really didn't target and plan out how you're going to target every single section or every single question type, and how you've covered all the bases which is required for CLAT itself. And for that, you really need to have a very organized work schedule and a plan for how you're going to be preparing for CLAT. And that is really essential, because that is what is going to be your directing, a guiding force in how you're going to be putting in your efforts, when you're going to be putting in your efforts. Because say a few months later, once you're done putting in, say, 2 to 3 hours every single day, if you look back at it, unless you have an organized plan, you won't know how far you've come. You won't know how much progress you've made. A lot of it will be up in the air, and a lot of your preparation will be really vague. And that's just not going to help you in reconciling and revising for the exam itself when you actually get down to it. Now, the next issue that I'm going to be talking about is something which is faced by most students, but it's in varying degrees. Now, this is one thing which I'm sure a lot of students struggle with, is that of confidence. Now, I know this can go actually both ways. Now, there are a lot of students who are really underconfident about their abilities. They believe they're not going to be making it. They feel there's a lot of competition, that they feel that they're not doing enough, and they just feel that they're just not going to be cracking CLAT and getting into a top NLU. Now, this can really affect your performance, because you just lose your trust in your instincts, and that is extremely important in an objective-based, such a competitive exam, because you've put in so many hours of work, so you know what exactly is going to be the correct answer choice there. It's just about you being able to trust your instincts and being able to believe in yourself that you can pick out the right answer. So people who are underconfident tend to lose out on that particular instinct and that kind of motivation, because the minute they feel that they're not able to do it, that automatically translates into the paper as well, and they end up doing poorly. Similarly, on the other end of the spectrum, we have a lot of students who are really confident. They believe in their abilities. They're like, I can crack CLAT. They almost feel entitled to get into a top NLU after cracking CLAT. Now, that can go the other way, in the sense that students can become really complacent. They feel that they are doing enough. They just don't question their methods. They just don't question their preparation, and they continue in the same way as they did. And they might be in for a really big shock at the end of after the exam, and they realize that they haven't done as well as they thought they would. And that is why it's important for you to be able to strike a balance between the two. Be confident enough in your abilities that you can crack the exam, that you, whatever answer you're going to be picking is the correct answer that you're going to be choosing. At the same time, make sure that you're reviewing how well you're preparing at every single stage. Make sure you check your progress, make sure you check how much you've actually done, check how well you're doing, speak to other people and see how others are performing and how others are progressing as well, just to get an idea as to where you are, right? Because all of that is going to keep you grounded and get you back to the ground level, as to be able to think that, okay, tomorrow I need to get back to continue working the same way that I did, or probably change my approach just a little bit so that I can manage any kind of specific requirements I might particularly have. So it's about striking that balance between underconfidence and overconfidence, because both are really, really bad from an exam perspective. Yeah. The final point that I want to talk about is that of motivation. Now, I know a lot of students are writing CLAT. It's going to be extremely competitive, but the most important thing that you can really see from the ones who actually make it in comparison to the ones who don't is that the ones who actually make it are genuinely motivated by themselves, right? So that motivation comes from the inside. So you have your own objectives, you have your own motivations, you have your own goals, but all of that should originate from within you. Now, it can't be because, yeah, my parents have signed me up for this, so I'm going to do this, or my friends are doing this, so I think that I should also do this. It can't be any kind of reason like that, but it has to be reasons which come from within you. Now, what those reasons can be, it can be absolutely anything, right? You felt that you felt that law was a really interesting subject, that's something that you wanted to do. That's all right. You want to make a lot of money, so you want to get in the legal field. Again, that's a very valid motivation to have. Or it could be absolutely anything. Or it might be inspired by someone who you saw who was working in the legal field and you want to enter into that. Now, all of these are genuine motivations, which are really true, which are coming from within you without any kind of external factor affecting it. Now, that is what is most important, and you need to be able to identify that particular motivation, that particular goal, your objectives, because once that is clear, once your path is clear as to why you're doing it, that can really, really help in your day-to-day activities, because that is when you desperately need it. You're going to have really bad days when you just don't feel like working, you're feeling really down, and you just feel like things are just not going your way. On those days, this particular motivation and this genuine original motivation that you derive from within you is what is going to be pushing you in those difficult days. And the ones who actually get through those difficult days by getting a little bit of work done are the ones who end up succeeding in the exams. Right? So identify that, find exactly where you're coming from, what you're doing this for, and why at all you are pursuing this particularly difficult and competitive exam. Because once you don't know that yourself, you're not going to be able to convince yourself to work and put in the required amount of effort that you need to do every single day. One final thing which I want every single one of you who's watching to remember is that you, and I mean every single one of you watching this video, is capable of cracking CLAT. All of you have the abilities, have the mental strength and the capacity to actually do well and get into a really top NLU, but it's just about focusing it, doing it in the right manner, trusting the process, and just really knowing where exactly you're coming from. So watch me on Sriram's LMS to access the finest content on CLAT preparation. And with that, this is me, Kaushik, signing off.